Greetings and welcome to Season 2 of Voices from Albion, the Magnetic Minstrel podcast. My name is Richard McPherson and I'll be your host tonight. Get yourself some hot blueberry scones or perhaps a few fingers of your favourite single malt whiskey and sit back while I tell you the tales of a lost Albion empire and the musical saga of Magnetic Minstrel. Episode 1, Return of the Formorians. Chapter 1, Summons to Atlantis. Part 1, The Architects of War. Upon their return to Atlantis, Aneurin immediately adopted his role as Taliesin Silverbrow and urged Queen Ildanta to call a war council of the 7 alien races of the Atlantean Confederacy. With the dark, sinister voice of the Formorians still ringing in his ears, what was even harder to accept was what he had witnessed inside the dark lookings of Vishnu of the Rig Vedas, the vast armada that stretched across the heavens as far as the eye could see. Yet even as he contemplated that undeniable fact, he still had no idea how their would-be allies would react when confronted with the news. Once the conclave was called, and the leaders of the disparate factions sat across from each other at the council table in the royal apartments of Queen Ildanta, he had to admit he was more than a little surprised at their combined response. Without a single dissenting vote, they unanimously voted to approve his plan to wage war upon the Formorians upon their arrival. What proved to be the more difficult part was exactly how they were going to do it, for each of their allies had distinctly different ideas about how this might be done. This was where the voice of dissension began to rise among them, and by the end of the conclave, Aneurin secretly wondered, with a weary heart, how he might be able to get them to agree on the defense of the planet, and felt it was fortunate that there was still months, perhaps even years, before their adversary would make their appearance. Part 2, The Voice of Reason. Amid the clamour of disagreement, a single voice came to the forefront to bring calm to the debate. Queen Danu of Atlantiis spoke at length about their defence against the Formorians, who they fought in the heavens when they attacked their realm of the Seven Sisters. The Formori had arrived with a fleet of more than 1,000 starships, and at the end the Taliesin were forced to adopt desperate measures in the face of such an implacable enemy. They had used the fusion drives on 3 of their ships to detonate them around the star Alcyone to bring it to supernova, immolating the Formorian fleet and allowing them to escape with a remnant of their forces. This time she advocated a far different approach to safeguard the planet. With the discovery of the interdimensional passage to the companion world of Aneurin, she championed a plan of evacuating as many of the folk of the Earth as they possibly could to safety. While conflict was inevitable, it was the sad voice of Aneurin himself who gave voice to the truth of the matter of Atlantis in the modern day, and even serious doubts if it had ever existed. This, along with the fact that all of the alien races gathered in the War Council had been consigned myth and legend, led to the fact that it would be defeated in the end. It was the passionate voice of Queen Danu who argued the outcome of the conflict did not matter. It was safeguarding as much of the life on the planet Earth as possible that did matter. They would make their heroic stand so the legacy of the war with the Formori would not be the utter destruction of the Earth itself. Chapter 2, Nec Pacium Parabellum. Part 1, Cut Loose the Dogs of War. Aneurin found that he was astounded by the fever of war that took hold of the Atlantean Confederacy. While battle was the state under which the Nordic tribes of the Assyrian veneer thrived, it seemed to heighten their fervor for war. This was further enhanced by the gifts given under the technological prowess of the Nemedians. King Odin was gifted with the spear of Gungnir, which was fitted with one of the sunstones pledged by Queen Danu from the Seven Sisters. His son Thor had his warhammer Mjolnir reshaped with fittings that could conjure the power of the twin phoenix of Atlantis to call the lightning itself. His other son Loki was furnished with translocation armor and a scepter with similar capabilities to that of his brother's hammer. The Anunnaki were bestowed shapeshifter amulets that allowed them to alter the aspect of their shape, and mind tiaras so they might share their thoughts. Queen Danu also entrusted them with another of a sunstone shape into the staff of Enlil. The forest folk of the Kalevala inherited the bow of Hern, known as the hunter among their folk, along with its enchanted emerald arrows, harnessing the power of the earth. At the last, Zeus of the Olympians refused any gifts from Atlantis, instead wishing to make a bestowal of his own. Queen Odanta was presented with the 12 knights of the Taliesin Guard, who were immortal metal men pledged to the protection of the queen. Vishnu of the Rig Vedas, having renounced any form of violence, made his pledge that he would maintain watch over the heavens and give warning upon the imminent arrival of the Formorians. Part 2. The fledgling races of Atlantis. Not the least among the tribes of the earth were the fledgling races of Atlantis. For Queen Ildanta of the Nemedians, these were the mere folk of Till Moon, created from the genetic manipulation with the Atlantean breeding chambers. The mere men and mere maids who lived under the oceans would fight their battle on the seas against the Formorians. For Queen Danu of Atiu de Danann, her children were the folk of Avalon, whom she had raised to sentience with the gift from the Seven Sisters. They would fight for the protection of the land against the servants of the Fomori. Finally, there were the creatures of the Atlantean beast of the zoological gardens of Atlantis. Imbued with mind speech by the Nemedians, they pledged to fight alongside their masters in the upcoming battle. Even the wild creatures of the earth appeared in mass gatherings to show their self-defense of the earth. It seemed that the entire planet had risen up against the invaders, and as the days turned into weeks and finally months, they stood waiting for what would come next. So, until next time, stay safe in this uncertain world, my fine lads and lasses, and fare thee well. Voices from Albion, the Magnetic Minstrel Podcast, is a production of Caramel Audio. Copyright Richard McPherson, 2020.